my channel. So I actually dyed my extensions. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. I've never done this before. I filmed the process just in case, and I'm really happy I did because I love the results. I basically did an ombre ash blonde type of color. I originally purchased the color Dirty Blonde from Bellami hair extensions, and it was the Boo-gatti set. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that color. I actually have one untouched right now. This is how it looks like. So it's definitely much more warm toned than my hair, and it doesn't have ombre, so I said I definitely want to do something myself just so that it blends in nicely with my hair, and I'm really happy with the results and everything. So you guys are going to see the products I used and the steps that I did to achieve this look. And yes, I don't want to ramble too much so that you guys can actually watch the process and see what I did. So stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need are extensions, of course. This is the Bellami Boo-gatti set in the color Dirty Blonde. The color that I got was way too orange for me, but I knew that upon purchasing it. But what's good about it is that it had that perfect lightness for me to just be able to tone down to achieve that ash color that I'm going for. So the next thing we're going to need is dark dye or any dye color that matches your roots, because that's what's going to give us that ombre effect. I actually decided to get a box dye just because I feel like it already comes with the right color and developer in it, and I didn't have to worry about buying those things separately. And I made sure to get a neutral brown color for me because that's what matches my roots best. So of course we're going to need some sort of toner or color to really remove this brassiness. Originally I wanted to get a toner, but I ended up picking up something called High Lift Color, which apparently has a little bit of bleach in it, but it's a lot less damaging, and what it does is it really helps strip away the unwanted tones. So this is from the brand Aloxxi. I got it in the shade 11A, and it does have a bit of purple tones in it, but that really is going to help us cancel out the orange tints in the extensions. Now to run you guys through the rest of the things we will need, we're going to need some cream developer so that we can mix that in with our toner, and I got 20 volume. The brand that I'm using is High Test, and it came with a small amount, so I didn't have to buy a whole thing, but if you guys want to buy a bigger amount, it might actually be more worth it. So whatever works for you guys. We will be needing a bowl to mix the High Lift color or the toner with our developer. Next, we're going to need some sort of brush. I'm going to call this a dye brush. I don't know what it's called, but it's going to help us apply the dye on the extensions. We're going to need some gloves, some sort of measuring cup or way to measure the ratio of developer to our color. And of course, we're going to be needing some newspaper or some plastic bags or something to be putting on our counters as we do this, because seriously, it does get really messy. So the first step we will be doing is actually putting the dark dye on the top portions of the extensions to mimic my roots. So let's prepare for this dark dye. Basically, I'm just going to follow the instructions that come with the pack. This is a box dye. If you guys haven't used a box dye before, there are instructions inside, but it is very, very simple. Basically, it comes with the developer and the color already in the box. So we basically just need to mix all of that together. It comes with a bottle already with developer in it, so what we're doing is just adding the color in there, and then we really need to shake that properly. So that's what I'm doing with without cutting that top part yet, so that things don't fly everywhere. Once it's shaken properly, you can cut the top applicator off, and then we can start the process. So once the dye is ready, I like to start by applying some straight from the applicator onto the top parts of my extensions and just brush the dye in with that dye brush going in downward strokes. Because I don't want that harsh line between the dark hair and the lighter hair, I'm going to put a bit of dye on a regular comb as well and brush that into the extensions. And I feel like that really helps avoid that harsh line and gives more of a seamless transition. Also, to help with this, what I do is I turn my dye brush vertically and I just do certain downward strokes in some areas of the extensions so that it doesn't give just like one line, and there's certain parts that have the darker dye going a bit lower. To make sure the dye is evenly distributed on all the hair and we don't have any patches, what I like to do is just go back periodically with the dye and rub that in with my hands and really make sure that it's saturated well in there. I'm just, by looking at it, I kind of see, okay, is there certain parts that are missing? And sometimes it's hard to tell just by looking. But that's why, better safe than sorry, I would rather add a little bit more dye just to make sure everything is really well covered. And of course, don't forget to do the other side of the track because the color does not really seep through, so it's important to really just kind of repeat that process on the other side. So that's exactly what I did. It was definitely trial and error, but I feel like the more I did it, the more comfortable I got. I just kind of found my routine. I knew exactly kind of like in my head what I wanted to do. Just using that dye brush and then the comb and just saturating it with my hands really did the trick for me. So I hope that works for you guys as well. And yeah, I just want to make a quick statement though, because in the Boo-gatti Bellami set, there is a volumizing weft, and that comes with a lot more hair. It's like basically 5 tracks in one. So it takes a lot more time to really make sure that the dye is saturated well in there and that there's no patchiness. So as you guys can see, I'm really rubbing in that color in every section of the hair to really make sure I avoid having patchiness. But what I wish I did do is section off the extensions into about 5 different sections. So basically kind of going row by row, if that makes any sense, and just focusing on that. And I feel like that'll make all the difference in making sure that there's no patchiness, because I didn't think of this in advance, but I had to go back in with that applicator and just put more and more and more dye. And at one point I was like, there must be an easier way. But yeah, there was, and that's just a trick for you guys if you're doing this. So once the dark dye has processed for about 30 minutes, you do want to rinse it out. But what I like to do, because we are going to be toning the hair and I do want the hair to be dry, I took a paper towel and wet it and just basically dampened all the dyed parts of the extensions. And that basically just stops the dye from processing further, because it has already been 30 minutes and we definitely don't want to leave it on there for too long. So whether you decide to use a paper towel or use the sink, it's fine, just as long as you make sure that the rest of the hair stays dry for the toning process. Now it's time to prep the toner to finally tone this hair and make it less brassy. So what I'm doing is measuring the amount of toner that I have inside my tube just by taking some sort of measuring cup and looking at the amount that I have. Now once I know that, I'm just gonna put all that toner inside a bowl and then take my developer and measure double that amount. Because the ratio is 2:1, it's basically 1 part toner to 2 part developer. So that's just my way of measuring. Maybe some people do it by eye, but I just want to make sure. So basically once that's done, I just add that developer into the bowl and mix all that in together. Now to tone the extensions, it's really easy. I'm actually just going to take a clean dye brush, because I definitely don't want to mix the dark dye with this, and just brushing in the toner inside the rest of the hair. So I just really want to make sure it's well saturated. So like before, I'm going to work in that product just by massaging it with my hands, and then I'm going to turn the track over and do the exact same process. So in total, I waited between 10 and 15 minutes with the toner in, and then that's when I rinsed everything out. So to rinse, basically, I actually started by using a blue shampoo. This one's from Pravana. This is what I use for my hair, and it's absolutely amazing. The thing is, it was pretty ashy to begin with, so I don't necessarily recommend rinsing with blue shampoo unless you want it even more ashy. But because it's hard to tell the color when it's wet, I just wouldn't do that. I started with that, but then I ended up using just a sulfate-free color-safe shampoo from Academia, and I really love that one as well, and I'd probably recommend that over blue shampoo for sure. But what I did is just take the shampoo and put it on my hands and just lightly rub my extensions just to clean them, just not being too rough with it because I don't want to cause knots or anything like that. But once that's rinsed out, I just took the conditioner that came with my box dye and just focused that mainly on the midpoints down, just to avoid it being too greasy on the root area. And now that we're done rinsing the hair, we can finally get to styling it and seeing how the color turned out. So now it's time to style the hair, and I really just want to show you guys briefly what I do. It's quite simple, but basically the Bellami set usually comes with a hanger. So what I do is I actually just hang them on my door or something so that it's much easier to blow dry. And then I take my macadamia oil and I like to disperse that throughout the hair, concentrating that mainly from the midpoints to my ends, just not to make it too greasy. And then I like to take a heat tamer spray. This one's from Tresemme, and I spray that before blow drying. Then what I like to do is just section off the weft into a few sections and just blow dry that down using a round brush. So these are the comparisons of the before and after shots. I am super satisfied with the results, especially given it's my first time. I hope you guys, if you try this at home, it turns out good for you. If you do, please let me know, and I'd love to see the results. If you guys do have further questions though, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and like this video if it helped out. I love you guys so much. I will see you all in my next video, and until then, have an amazing week. Bye!